In our last video, we explored Trump's legal strategy, the delays, denials, intimidation, and spectacle, and why, despite all his efforts, that strategy may have gone terribly wrong. Tonight, we turn to a question that legal experts across the nation are asking. Why do they say this case is different? What makes this trial unlike the countless battles Trump has faced before? And why could this be the one that changes everything? For decades, Trump has faced lawsuits, investigations, and accusations. He has survived them all, often by dragging cases out, exhausting opponents, or turning legal defeats into political victories. But legal experts argue that this case is different because it is not just about money, not just about politics, not just about perception. It is about accountability at the highest level, in a courtroom where delay is no longer possible, denial is no longer enough, and spectacle cannot drown out the silence of the law. One reason experts say this case is different is the evidence. In past battles, Trump often fought against vague accusations, civil disputes, or political investigations where proof was harder to pin down. But here, prosecutors are armed with documents, recordings, and testimonies that are concrete, undeniable, and devastating. Legal experts point out that evidence of this kind is harder to spin, harder to dismiss, and harder to escape. This is not a battle of opinions, it is a battle of facts. And facts, once laid bare, cannot be ignored. Imagine jurors staring at contracts signed in ink, listening to phone calls recorded in real time, and watching witnesses testify under oath. Denial becomes powerless in the face of tangible proof, and when denial collapses, the entire defense begins to unravel. Another reason is the timing. In the past, Trump's strategy of delay worked because the stakes were lower, the deadlines flexible, and the courts willing to grant extensions. But now, judges are setting strict schedules that collide with campaign rallies, debates, and political events. Legal experts say this case is different because the courtroom is no longer willing to wait for politics. The law is moving forward, and Trump must move with it. Every ruling, every deadline, every trial date forces him to confront reality in a way he has never had to before. Imagine the pressure of knowing that while millions watch your campaign speeches, millions more are watching your courtroom appearances. The collision of politics and law creates a tension that cannot be escaped. Legal experts also highlight the scale of the case. This is not a single lawsuit or a minor investigation. It is a case that touches on national security, democracy, and the integrity of the system itself. Past cases may have threatened Trump's finances or reputation, but this one threatens his political future, his freedom, and the stability of the nation. That scale makes it different, because the consequences are not limited to Trump alone. They ripple outward, affecting millions of people, shaping elections, and testing the strength of democracy itself. When the stakes are this high, every ruling becomes a turning point, every piece of evidence a potential fracture in the system. Another factor is the judges themselves. In the last video, we saw how judges are quietly closing in, refusing delays and enforcing deadlines. Legal experts say this case is different because the judiciary is more determined, more unified, and more resistant to political pressure than ever before. Judges are not bending to spectacle, not yielding to intimidation, and not allowing the courtroom to become a stage. Their rulings are precise, their orders firm, and their silence louder than any rally chant. This determination makes the case different because it strips away the tools Trump has relied on for decades. The quiet persistence of judges is reshaping the battlefield, and Trump's strategy is collapsing under its weight. Legal experts also point to the psychological impact. In past battles, Trump thrived on turning legal troubles into political fuel, rallying supporters by framing himself as a victim. But this case is different, because the psychological war is shifting. Supporters may still cheer, but the weight of evidence, the persistence of judges, and the silence of rulings create a sense of inevitability. Legal experts argue that perception is changing, not just among opponents, but among undecided citizens, allies, and even within Trump's own circle. The psychological shield is cracking, and once it breaks, the narrative collapses. Imagine the fear of knowing that the story you built for decades is being dismantled, piece by piece in front of millions. Financial strain is another reason. Trump has always relied on vast resources to fight endless battles, but this case is draining those resources faster than ever before. Legal experts say this case is different because it is not just one fight, it is many fights at once, each demanding money, time, and energy. The empire that once seemed limitless is now bleeding, and the defense is weakening. Financial strain makes the case different because it forces Trump to fight not only the law, but the limits of his own empire. Every dollar spent, every hour lost, every lawyer stretched thin adds to the collapse of a strategy that once seemed invincible. Contradictions in defense strategy also make this case different. In past battles, Trump's lawyers could tailor defenses to specific situations, often contradicting themselves without consequence. But now, the contradictions are piling up, noticed by judges, exploited by prosecutors, and remembered by juries. Legal experts say this case is different because the inconsistencies are too visible, too damaging, and too impossible to ignore. A fragmented defense cannot withstand a unified prosecution, and that weakness makes this case unlike any before. Every contradiction becomes a weapon for the prosecution, every inconsistency a fracture in the defense. Finally, legal experts emphasize the stakes. Past cases may have threatened Trump's wealth, reputation, or business empire. But this case threatens his political future, his freedom, and the stability of the nation itself. The stakes are higher, the consequences greater, and the risks more dangerous. That is why they say this case is different, because it is not just about Trump. It is about America, democracy, and the rule of law. The courtroom is not just deciding the fate of one man, it is deciding the resilience of an entire system. The storm is intensifying. In the last video, we saw why Trump's strategy may have gone wrong. Now, we see why legal experts believe this case is different. Every ruling, every deadline, every piece of evidence pushes Trump closer to a reckoning. The question is not only whether he can survive the trial, but whether America itself can withstand the pressure. Because when the pillars of democracy tremble, the cracks spread far beyond one man. And once the cracks appear, can they ever be repaired? And now the question is yours. Legal experts say this case is different. Do you believe they are right? Will this trial finally bring accountability, or will Trump find a way to turn even this case into survival? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your voice is part of this unfolding story.